Good afternoon, good evening, and a warm welcome to all our participants who have joined here for the Masterclass session organized by School of Media and Communication, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Dubai. I am Vilma Siravo, faculty at the School of Media and Communication. This is a pandemic time. All of us are stuck at home. And we also realize this is actually the best time where we can interact with the industry professionals, especially with those who has a passion for filmmaking. I'm sure most of us have been spending our time either binge watching a lot of series or new releases on all the streaming platforms. So we thought this is actually a better time to interact and gather information and spread knowledge about filmmaking, especially to those who have an interest in filmmaking and also love cinema. In today's masterclass, we have the privilege of interviewing, rather discussing with the professional, the legend of Bollywood industry, who's known for his writing, direction, and production, Mr. Shoojit Sircar. With his list of films, be it Vicky Donor, Madras Cafe, October, Pink, or Piku, or even for that matter, the recent release Gulabo, Sitabo, he has touched all of our hearts. He has made us think emotionally, logically, and analyze what's happening around the world. So these films, because of their narration, because of their storytelling, have touched upon various aspects of filmmaking and have won recognition along with awards. So we are privileged to have Mr. Shoojit Sircar in our masterclass session today. So before we have him or begin with the discussion, here is a preview to all his works specially made for our audience. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Shoojit. We are delighted to have you. In fact, most of our participants, the moment we started displaying it on our social media platform that our next master series is going to be about Mr. Shoojit Sircar, we had a lot of requests, we had a lot of participation, and people registering from across the world. A warm welcome to you. How is the lockdown treating you?
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for everything so far. And yeah, so far, lockdown is like everyone else. I think you explained in the beginning.
Yes.
I'm in Kolkata. That is the east of India. Uh, Today is a complete lockdown here. So yeah, I think we all are home, and we are trying to learn in this present situation whatever we can.
True. In fact, before I begin discussing about your movies, about the craft of filmmaking, I would be discussing about one person, the master of Indian cinema, who has influenced all of us, mostly you, with his brilliant films, the Apu trilogy. I am speaking about Satyajit Ray, known for Less is More. So, how Ray's movies, Ray's concepts have been an influence in your films or in your entire idea of conveying messages through your films?
Well, Satyajit Ray is, we all know that is one of the legend filmmakers, and for me, he's just a pure uh, a Bible of cinema that I make, that I try and that I am inspired from. Uh, well, Satyajit Ray's Apu trilogy or anything, I mean, whatever films he has done, I think the most important factor that he has built in that he has uh, picked up very ordinary, very, very ordinary, mundane, simple subjects and has made them into a very engaging cinematic experience. So I think that's the greatness, that to look for ordinary and to make it engaging and interesting, and also um, to tell a story uh, through something which is in your real life you can't imagine also that no, this can be told into a story. That's one aspect that inspires me about him. And second is that his films are not just his films, what you just see. It is much beyond. It sometimes gives me a very mystic element. That a lot of foreign people have, journalists have explained his mysticism in his films. To me, they are more like a very spiritual or very meditating, kind of a nature which his films evoke. And so I think that's what inspires me of Satyajit Ray. And I think he made some of the best of the cinemas that uh, since 1955 when when Poker Panchali was released. So I think just imagine since then he has been making some films which has not only taken uh, the world audience, Indian audience, and the world audience are completely awestruck that how a man can make such simple films. And whenever somebody comes to me and asks me to be an intern or a writer or actor, the first thing I do is I make them watch Ray films. So that's a given that if you are working here with me, then you'll have to watch all the Ray films. And I tell everyone who wants to join films that you really want to be a filmmaker, you must watch all the Satyajit Ray films.
So, when it comes to the, taking up few of the cues from Satyajit Ray, can you give us an instance, like in few of your films, where have you adopted these concepts, especially the concept of less is more, or be it in terms of music, be it in terms of cinematography, or be it in terms of setting as well, picking up few instances from your films?
Well, one of the examples is Gulabo Sitabo. So in Gulabo Sitabo, if you see in terms of the visual narrative or even the entire story narrative, the way it moves on, the pace that is moves on, the kind of characters that we picked up, it's so real. That's completely inspired from Ray's Apu trilogy. If you see Apu trilogy second part, Aparajito, you will see the Kolkata, the press, where this small young adolescent boy of 19, ready to do things, how he has captured the very normal life of a growing up a young, you know, youngster, and the arguments he has with his mother, then how he is looking at the new life. If you see, it's Gulabo Sitabo, if you see, it's so much into Lucknow that I
Yes.
have not deviated at all. I have kept it only with Mirza as a character and his mansion. Same with Ayushman and his mansion, not mansion about he being a tenant, being there. So if you see the home as the house, there's a lot of silences, there's a lot of pauses. There are very simple, mundane moments I've tried to pick it up and create. Same thing I've done in October. Both the films doesn't have a very, a strong storyline. It's completely tug on a very small incident, and then what happens. Like for example, in October, I have explored the entire film, what happens in an intensive care unit, ICU. What do you feel as a parent when your child is in comatose? And what do? You don't do anything. You just sit there, look at the patient. That's it. And I've tried to create those silences into a cinematic experience. Some people have liked it. Some people have thought it was quite slow, and some people thought it boring. But for me, it was really enriching as a cinematic experience. So I think these are the facts. Even for Piku, for example, the kind of music that I've used, this kind of humor that is there in the characters of Bengali in a Bengali family, what happens between Piku and her father. Even in Vicky, the family, the way they interact between themselves. There is a Punjabi family, there is a Bengali family. So I think those realistic moments, that's what I have picked up from Ray.
True. In fact, most of your stories basically look into the reality of life, what's happening around us, the real characters, be it Mr. Bhaskar Banerjee, be it Mr. Chadda in Vicky Donor, or even Mirza in Gulabo Sitabo for that matter. We can clearly connect it to our daily life. So you have also worked in the thriller films, especially the political thrillers, beginning from your first film, Yahan, which focuses on the Kashmir issue. And then you have also worked on Madras Cafe. So you have been, balancing both the genres of films, be it the dramas or be it the political thrillers. So how do you generate these interests? Basically, do you generate this interest in the form of grabbing the idea, or does it begin when you start working on the script or story?
Well, it depends on what it's very subjective actually. It depends from person to person. For me, I think my biggest learning, where I've learned basic leading a life, not just as a filmmaker, just as a human being, um, was when I started my theater, workshops. So my basic grooming and my roots are there in theater. So my discipline in cinema, in terms of writing, in terms of performance, camera work, or any department. So everything, even the production, even the shooting style, even the edit, it has all, I've acquired it purely because of my theater experience. And I always tell people that whether you are a filmmaker or not a filmmaker, whatever profession you belong, you must go and experience theater, and especially amateur theater. In India, in Delhi, when I was living and I was doing theater, we didn't had any support system in terms of finances and putting up a production. It's almost like we all 30 like-minded people come together, and here we want to do a play, and we are all the time discussing about social issues, about society, about politics, about everything. And somehow we are managing to put up a production. I mean, your own clothes become sometimes costumes. Like a lot of people in short films nowadays do, that they somehow manage their friends, and they're putting up a short film together. So same way we put up the production, where your home furniture becomes the sets, properties. So these are the learnings that I had. So to answer your question of moving from genre to genre, for example, from a drama, political drama, to a love story, to a slice of life, to a sperm donor story of Delhi, So these all comes from, I think, a lot of your awareness and your observations. What affects you as a person, what story that that you want to tell, your own principles in life, your own philosophies of life. So I think all comes together, and something compels you from inside that, okay, I must tell this particular story. And so that's how some stories have just begun in a concept level because I have loved the concept, and then we start working on it. It's same with Piku and Vicky Donor or even October, and then it just went on. Uh, uh, you know, what do you say? We kept on nurturing it, and it kept on maturing, and then it translated into a cinema. So this is how I think I have actually. If I go back and think about it, it's I think the way you think, way you behave, what you absorb. That's what you want to convey.
You basically started with documentaries. That's where your passion lies. So along from documentaries to theaters and then films. So when you focus on all the three productions or working on all the three elements of filmmaking, the prominence of research, because I remember when you were working on Yahan, you were inspired by an article which appeared in Indian Express about the soldier who was deployed in Kashmir regiment, and how he fell in love with a Kashmiri woman there. So that inspiration came for you from the article that appeared in the newspaper. So what is the prominence of research, especially if I have a thought that I want to get into filmmaking, I want to work on a film with regards to direction?
Research is quite key to when you are scripting and you are strategizing, or when you're writing your screenplay. So I think the research is most important because uh, there are many aspects that you would want to uh, feature in your film, or especially in your characters. As you rightly said, for example, in Yahan, I mean, it was inspired from a small newspaper article that I read. Now, after that, I went and lived in Kashmir for some time, and I saw the lives of the army people. So how, and I went to one of the also search operations, also of course behind the uh, you know uh, barricaded area, not in the particular area, and I observed them, what is their drill and how they do it, what are the hostile situations that they go through. For example, and in Kashmir, for an army personnel, uh, to even talk to a Kashmiri girl can be so much of problematic, for not even for the girl also, and for the army person also. So everyone is sometimes targeted. So at that time when I was going, so I wanted to cast a Kashmiri girl. I mean, so I spoke to so many Kashmiri girls. They said we can be behind the camera, but we can't come in front of the camera because otherwise we will be harassed. So then I had to cast somebody else. All this research. For example, there is a small sequence in Yahan uh, where uh, there is a girl who is in a burqa, and she gets a parcel. She secretly sneaks out from different places and gets in. And when she opens the parcel, we see it's a pair of jeans. So and uh, they just wanted to wear jeans. That's it. So this research has come from the fact that when I was talking to all the women in Kashmir, they just told me that I was asking them what is one thing that you want in this curfew every day in this moment. They said we just want to wear jeans and watch films. So so that's how this situation came in. So this research becomes so much important. For Madras Cafe, it was completely based on research. Even for Gulabo Sitabo or in October, those important research. For example, in October, it was purely about brain science. So what happened? So we spoke to some of the top neurosurgeons around the world, and then whatever you see in that film are actually given to me by the discussed with me what have I discussed with them, with the brain surgeons around the world. So without research, I think it's very difficult. If you are aware, it's fine, but I think you will still need a lot of research.
Right. So now, like, you have the story idea in your mind, be it Gulabo Sitabo only. So I'm sure when the story idea is there in your mind, you want to make it entertaining. You want to bring in the concept of fun, emotions, uh, portray it as it is. So how do you take it forward? The story idea, how do you take it forward in terms of scripting or story narration?
Well, it's there is not a single formula on this. I mean, say for example, Yaha was a different kind of a scripting. Vicky Dona had a different style of a scripting. Madras Cafe completely different. Piku completely different. So it depends on every subject how you approach it. So I will um, give you just a basic how we go. Say for example, when the idea comes in. For example, uh, so the first, for example, when the Piku idea came, it came from my writer Juhi Chaturvedi, and when she said, about this father and daughter, and this and father who is constipated, and it's their relationship that goes in. So instantly I smile because I don't know uh, how a problem like a constipation of an old man can be expressed in a cinema without being a taboo, without being to be um, slapstick, without being just being normal, and not to use it as a. So if you see uh, that film is not, yes, it discusses all the problems of constipation, but that film is not about constipation. That film is all about a father and a daughter
That
and
a
her roots
relationship.
and his father's, and what your roots are. And that film is all about caregiving. So that you need to, how a daughter needs to take care of a father, and what is the bonding between them. How the father is preparing her daughter. So I think there are all little things that goes in that film. So basically, we start from the basic idea on this, and we start uh, about in that film there are a lot of personal experiences. I have seen these kind of characters. I have seen these kind of behaviors of people, right? I am also a little, fanatic like Bhaskar Banerjee, me as a person. So, some, so there were a lot of personal things that come in. Then you start jotting down those points, that what all you want to convey through these characters. Uh, Now there is a lot of thin line there, as you said, as you asked me that how I decide in terms of fun or in terms of entertainment or this. So
Romance or
uh,
emotions.
yeah, so especially the emotions, and how do I get to my point of discussion in terms of the character, because all through the film, uh, in all the scenes they are discussing the same thing. So say for example, when I had a small preview of my film, so one of the person said, I mean, what is this film? They're all the time talking about, about constipation, about the same thing. The film doesn't move. Now, it's that person's point of view. So I said, okay, fine, that is it. So my brief to the writer was that I want the camera and the audiences to go exactly inside this Banerjee home in from morning till night and see exactly what happens. And if you go back and if you put a camera actually early morning, from morning to evening in your own house, and if you see yourself, you will laugh what all you have done. You've done the same thing exactly all the time, and every morning. For example, I have two daughters, and every morning, two young daughters at that time, I will ask, "Have you gone to the loo? Have you done it? How was your experience? Was it okay? Was it wrong?" So I used to do every morning with my daughters. Yeah, sometimes they haven't flushed it, so we go and flush it also. So these are the very real life experience that we went through. For example, my writer was going through a very similar situation because uh, her father was living with her, and it was almost like a Piku and a Bhaskar Banerjee situation for Juhi. So for her to capture those moments between what's happening was also not difficult. So the most important factor is I don't write my script myself, so I have writers. So first thing is the tuning, that that the tuning, that what you first thing is to decide what you don't want, to do. So that's very important. So that's why I come back to the point of fun or comedy or entertainment. That's not in my list. So that's always rejected, even if it's a Vicky donor or any of the films. So these three elements doesn't are not in our radar. So we just say the story. If it is funny, it's funny. If the situation is straight, it's straight. If it's just pure sarcasm, it's pure sarcasm. So it's nothing to put and just okay. Now I have to make entertaining. No, that's the last thing in my scripting process. So it's just the way it flows, the way I have seen, and the way I want to convey the particular scene or emotion. So we start with the characters. We gather all these experiences, what we have seen. Then we put it together, and then possibly a first draft appears. And then from the first draft, we start keeping again nurturing it and nurturing it. So I think as much we nurture, as much I spend time. So I spend a lot of time in scripting. Shooting is quite like easy for me. I don't spend too much time shooting. I'm too fast and quick. So most of the time I spend is scripting and research.
So, if I have to discuss the same with regards to Vicky Donor, because Vicky Donor is one particular film which had a very sensitive topic, where the society was not open to speak about the topic. So, how was the treatment, being done here?
Well, it dealt with sperm donation, and even I was very conscious. Even I didn't know how will this film pass through the censors. Will this film will have an audience coming and watching it? Um, so still, I decided no, I want to tell this story the way I want. So I mean, we were absolutely balancing ourselves on a thin line. I mean, on the other side, we could have gone completely slapstick, and on this side, we could have really controlled the film the way it moved. So one very important factor was that the film should not have uh, give you a feeling of distaste of that it's not been tasteful enough to because of the taboo subject, uh, and because it involved a doctor and a sperm donation and a donor. So I think, yeah, the idea was to uh, keep it in terms of, how will I say, hygienic in
Hmm.
terms of what you're expressing. So, for example, first was who will be the character that's going to play. So it's going to be Ayushman. So so any behavior of Ayushman as a character of Vicky should not give me a feeling of okay, now this is not tasteful enough for a cinematic experience. For example, the doctor. So the doctor won't be so doctor won't be uh, a sleazy doctor, a doctor who is really qualified. So if you see the film, you see that Dr. Chadda, whatever he's speaking in that film, he's speaking absolutely uh, like like a like a proper doctor who is completely trained in terms of and knows his job as a sperm donor, as a sperm donation, you know, clinic. So never he utters a word which is not scientific enough. Now, never, which does not involve medical science. So all that we did a research that this character will speak. Yes, he had a funny way of talking because he is from Chandigarh, Punjab, and he's learned his degree from there. So I think all that factor mattered. For example, I found, for example, one of the most progressive character was Ayushman's grandmother. That's the BG, who would speak whatever she wants, you know, and so I think so that character I have seen, you know, and even Juhi has also experienced. So we knew, and I've seen in my family also, so that they will be absolutely on your face and can talk anything. So I found BG the most progressive in terms of our thoughts and thinking. So these elements start getting into your script and in terms of character. So you keep layering them and layering them and layering them. So I think then it becomes you start threading it. Sometimes you change your threading position. Sometimes you bring this scene here, this scene here. So that's a matter of director's vision, what the director or the writer finally wants to do. So this is the basic process that we go through in terms of, especially in Vicky Donor, as it dealt with a very taboo subject. For example, let me give you one very, very simple example.
Yeah, please.
There is one particular scene where Vicky is finally, the day comes where he has to donate, you know, and he goes to the clinic, and the clinic doctor says, okay, you go in that room. So in the script, we had kept it till that portion, you know. So then I decided on the shoot that, you know, I will let him go inside the room and I will shoot that. So Ayushman came to me and he said, Dada, you didn't tell me that you're going to shoot this sequence, but what I'm going to do inside? So he said, even I don't know what I'm going to do inside. So let's put the cameras and see what happens. So whatever scene you see, I kept it and I let him enter that room. If you see that particular scene, and of course he was conscious, he didn't know what to do. He was really, you know, even I didn't know what to do. I said, let the camera roll and let's see what we get it. And see what is naturally I got it, I used it in the film. So it became so natural, and he comes out and then he gives him whatever video cassettes and magazines, you know, add his magazines and tells him, okay, go in. So that's how that scene was built.
Okay, great. In fact, right now we will be giving a preview about your latest release, Gulabo, Sitabo, starring Amitabh Bachchan and Ayushmann Khurrana. As further, we will be continuing the discussion based on this film and the characters. So here is a preview.
हम जहाँ से आ रहे हैं ना मिर्जा, तुम सोच भी नहीं सकते हो।
कहाँ से?
उन्नाव। 1000 टन सोना गड़ा है जमीन में।
सोना?
हाँ, खुदाई चल रही है। भीड़ इतनी कि क्या बताएं।
सुनो, जा कहाँ रहे हो?
याद है 2 साल पहले एक कोठी में से 2 तिजोरी निकली थी जमीन के अंदर से। हवेली तो ये भी है, अच्छी खासी पुरानी है, पर अपने घर को खुदवा थोड़ी दोगे तुम। बस इसी चक्कर में लेट हो गए।
फिर से सुन। सुनाई दे रहा? या सुनाई दे रहा? हाँ? कुछ नहीं मिला। हाँ? कहाँ? मिला? सोना सोना मिलेगा। मिला। सोना सोना कोई है नहीं अंदर। देखो कहाँ लगा जी?
लालच जानते हो मिर्जा, जहर होता है, इंसान को ना अंदर से खत्म कर देता है बिल्कुल। तुम आज यहाँ पर जैसे लेटे हुए 1 आध साल बाद कब्र में लेटे मिलोगे, अगर अपनी हरकतों से बात ना आए तो।
अव्वल तो ये कि हमने आज तक सुना नहीं कि कोई लालच से मरा हो, समझे? और दूसरा ये कि हम तो लालची है ही नहीं।
तुम लालची नहीं हो?
रत्ती भर नहीं।
ये जो भरी दोपहरिया में पूरी हवेली में खुदाई कर दी, सोना तो मिला नहीं, बेहोश होके आ गए, वो लालच नहीं है?
अरे वो हमारी उल्फत है, मोहब्बत है हमारी हवेली से बेइंतहा। उसके लिए हम कुछ भी कर सकते हैं।
देखो बेगम आए दिन बीमार रहती हैं और तुमने खटिया पकड़ ली है। आगे कभी सोचा है क्या होगा?
कब?
हमें तुम निकाल बाहर करोगे, बेगम बचेगी नहीं, कौन ख्याल रखेगा तुम्हारा इस सुनसान वीरान पुरानी हवेली में? सोचा है कभी? 78 के तुम हो गए हो। ऐसा है, तुम्हारी कोई औलाद नहीं है, हमारा बाप नहीं है, कोर्ट कचहरी के चक्कर से निजात पाओगे, हमें गोद ले लो।
इधर निकल निकल। क्या कर रहा है यहाँ से? भाग दिमाग कहीं के। हटा।
सलाह दे रहे थे, ना सुनो। कदरने की कोशिश मत करना हमें, अब हम जम चुके हैं यहाँ पर, ठीक है?
गोद लोगे हमको? निकल बाहर यहाँ से।
दिमाग बोल रहे हैं। हमारी 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 चादर कहाँ से आए? हम ये कब लाए? हाँ, टुच्चा ही पना जाता नहीं तुम्हारा।
दिन भर बादे हैं।
Wonderful. That was a clip specially for our audience where Mirza, played by Amitabh Bachchan, and Banke Rastogi, played by Ayushmann Khurrana, wonderfully executing the Lucknowi language, the Lucknowi heritage. So those who have not watched the movie yet, please make sure it's there on Amazon Prime, the streaming platform. Please make sure you give it a watch. Also, dear audience, dear participants, the chat section is open for the discussion. So if you have any questions, any questions that you would like to gain answers from, especially from Mr. Shoojit Sircar, please go ahead, type your questions there. So at the end of the session, we will be addressing the questions directly by Shoojit Sircar. So this entire masterclass series focuses on the art and craft of filmmaking, where the movie enthusiasts, people who love cinema and would want to learn about the craft and art of filmmaking, will be learning from the experts. Previous week, we had a session with the cinematographer, Mr. Kamaljeet Negi, who in fact worked with Shoojit Sircar. And this week, we are discussing with the legend. So we also have sessions coming up in the next week. The next session will be held with Mr. Anil Zankar, the a historian, the expert in the field of cinema and script writing. So the session will be held on August 17th. So those who have not registered, please do register. Our registration link will be up on our social media platform, both on Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Dubai. So those who don't still follow our Mahe social media platform, make sure you do visit it, you do follow it, because we keep updating about our masterclass series on these platforms. Also, with regards to your questions, be it with regards to the cast, character, actors, experience of Mr. Shoojit working with prominent actors, any questions that you have, make sure you pop these questions or type these questions in the chat section in GoToWebinar, so that we can address your questions and we can give out the answers from Mr. Shoojit Sircar. This our Manipal Academy of Higher Education, especially School of Media and Communication, offers you degree in BA in Media and Communication. And this year, we are also introducing 2 new degrees, that is BSc in Animation and Video Effects, also BA in Film Studies and Television Production. So those who want to pursue your studies in the field of cinema making, in the field of, or learn aesthetics of filmmaking, do visit our campus. We are available in our campus located in DIAC campus in Mahe, Dubai. So we are here from Sunday to Thursday, and we also have open house series every Friday from 4 to 8 p.m. So those who are interested, please do visit our campus and inquire about our courses. You can also visit our campus, check our facilities and infrastructure. We also offer course in MA in Media and Communication, along with certificate courses in photography and computer graphics. So those who have an interest to learn about these courses, make sure you visit our campus or write in or contact our admissions team, who could assist you and guide you with regards to admissions. So speaking about Mr. Shoojit Sircar, it's been in fact a wonderful session with him, where so far he has covered or focused on the craft of filmmaking. So be it with regards to treating a story, be it with regards to coming up with the script, or be it with regards to choosing the characters or actors for the film. These entire procedures have been an integral part of his filmmaking. The further discussions will be focusing on working with the actors. So we would be focusing or highlighting prominent films where he has casted prominent actors and how his experience has been with these actors. We will also be focusing on the production and post-production of few of his prominent films, where he has focused on various aspects and various genres of filmmaking. This entire masterclass series is our effort to make sure enthusiasts like you all get to learn, especially from the industry, especially from the professionals. Welcome back, Mr. Shoojit. So we just had a preview. No, not at all. We had a preview with regards to Gulabo and Sitabo. So there is a curiosity with regards to one of the character in Gulabo Sitabo, that is Banke Rastogi, played by Ayushmann Khurrana. In fact, both the characters, be it Mirza or Banke, both have been played, giving that Lucknowi feel, Lucknowi touch to the language or the lifestyle that they have been leading. You have given a special character here, especially we identify Banke's character where he lisps. So is there any specific reason why you gave this feature to the character?
Well, we so if you see Banke, actually don't see Ayushmann Khurrana at all. You
True.
can only feel Banke, So I think that's the quality. Even in Mirza also, you don't see Amitabh Bachchan, you see Mirza. So I think the good thing about that film and about the characters and the actors that the way have done, if nobody shouts out on the screen, okay, here I am as an actor. I think the very good thing that I'm really thankful to all the actors of Gulabo that they all disappear in the crowds of Lucknow, and I think that's the beauty of performing and as an actor, that you disappear in the middle of the crowd and you just look so normal. So in that normal, uh, uh, lisping is quite common actually. With a lot of people do that. And way the Banke's character is, if you see that he is little clumsy. He has
Yes.
got a lot of responsibility. He's got three sisters, his mother. He has to also run
A
his,
mill. Yeah.
a small flour, mill. So I think all that. So he's already in lot of responsibility. So, and also as a character, that he is not so street smart or clever. He tries to Mirza that he's smart, but he's actually not. His sisters pull his legs. So you can see that in his character. So we wanted some definite things, like little punch coming out. Every morning he takes a bike and goes. He doesn't have a time also to meet his girlfriend. So his girlfriend comes to his flower shop itself, in that mill itself. Um, so before we started shooting, 2 days before, when Ayushman and we were just doing narrations and discussing the characters and reading and all, he he asked me, can I try the lisping in the particular character in the scene? So I asked him, okay, show me how you're going to do it. So he's always been an RJ. He's a stage performer. So all that is quite
Yes.
easy for him actually, and he did it, and he did it so casually, and uh, so it was so natural that I instantly agreed. I said, okay. I asked him, will you be able to continue the entire film? So he said, yeah. I think, will it be difficult for you, because there are some words I should not miss out because of this, because there are some key words. He said, no, I will do it. So that's how Banke's character of lisping came in, and these uh, small, nuances that we added with him, and also that he was actually a very good friend of Mirza. Even if
Okay.
they kept on fighting, they live
Yes.
under the same roof for years and years and years. I mean, Mirza might have seen him, Banke, born, and since his birth, Mirza must have seen their family. So I think these are the important backstories that we started building in. So, and I think that worked quite well. And another important character was Mirza himself, that and he very clearly clarifies that he has no other motive in his head apart from somehow managing to be the owner of this mansion.
Honor.
So
Yeah.
his motive is quite clear. And so whatever, if you see the actions, the active, is just only his one track mind that it goes, that he wants to be a owner of this mansion. And he doesn't care about anything. Everybody is abusing him. He doesn't listen. He doesn't go. He just wants that his mansion should be his. That's it. And everyone is abusing, from a small girl to
Exactly.
Begum, to Begum. So everyone is abusing him, accusing him. He doesn't give anything. He doesn't. He just. And I think one of the finest, find for us was, of course, the Begum,
Yeah.
who was absolutely charming, natural, and actually she was the the pillar of this film.
Of the yeah.
Yes, so strong, so. I mean, she actually was driving the entire film. Actually, the way the entire narrative in Mirza's life or everybody else's life at that age. So that was quite fascinating.
Yeah, very true. I mean, when I watched it, the first feel that I got was like this is a very simple story, real life characters, and even the actors casted in the film are like very humble and simple. But still, the story, the entire narrative is done so effectively. So no matter whether you've passed like 15 days or a month, the story is still fresh in our minds. Be it with regards to the narration, be it with regards to the music, or be it with regards to the dialogues that's there in the film. That definitely stands out in Gulabo Sitabo. So if I have to bring it back to Piku, where you work with three prominent actors belonging to three different schools, we can say. How was your experience here?
In Piku, it was quite an experience because, uh, as you said, that they were from three different kinds of schools because Irfan comes from pure theater, but still his way of learning was more spontaneous. He just wanted a lot of information about the character. I've said many times, about this that um, Irfan will just always ask me, Shoojit, keep talking to me about the character. So there was a point when I told him, Irfan, I have nothing to speak. I'm exhausted. I've said enough. I don't have anything. So he will say, whatever you speak. I said, I would say, Irfan, no, I have nothing. I have given you all the nuances of the character that can be. So he's that kind of an actor. Um, Deepika, on the other hand, needs very fewer instructions. Uh, so I made her comfortable. Um, I knew that she is coming from a setup which is really uh, she's coming from a very pot boiler setup, and this is so realistic as a setup. This film, the treatment. So it will take some time for her to adjust. So we would, for the beginning, for a lot of days, I didn't shoot. I would call them. They would put up makeup and everything else. Like they in other films, they'll go and do the shots and move on. So I will not shoot. I will let them be there with me, with the other actors, and everything. So just to get a lot of acclimatization. So I think that acclimatization eases you out as an actor. So that's always been my code of conduct in terms of while I shoot. I make sure that because in a shooting set, it's chaotic, and especially in India, in Hindi films, it's not like the West, where it's simple or everybody is working on that. In India, it's chaotic. Everybody, 200 people, if they're in the crew, all of them are talking at the same time. So you can imagine how chaotic it can be. And in that chaotic situation, as for a director, for the actor, they have to concentrate, and because finally they'll have to deliver. So I would make sure that during my shoot, I won't let the actors in unless the lighting is done. So I will talk to Kamal Negi, who was my cinematographer. I will request him that what time do you think you can finish the lighting part so that there is nobody inside the crew apart from you and me. So he would give me that much time, and at that much time I will give it to them. I will not call the crew. So once they are out, but normally what happens is in Mumbai, in Bollywood, that lighting is going on, rehearsals are going on, and everything is happening at the same time. But I make sure that I don't rehearse, I don't call the actors, so that when they are on the set, they don't see so many faces. So that's another way. Mr. Bachchan is a different school. For him, nothing matters. Even if there are 1,000 people, he can still concentrate because, of course, his experience of last 51 years in the industry, and he rehearses a lot. He rehearses a lot. I mean, he can go hours and hours of rehearsal. There are days that we were ready to shoot, but his rehearsals was carrying on, and neither he was happy, neither I was happy. So we were just carrying on with the rehearsal. So there are days that we just didn't shoot. But the next day we came in and we shot for 15 minutes and the scene is out. So that has also happened. So it's these different schools. So it was a situation that, you know, how will I handle them? For example, how will I get Deepika and Mr. Bachchan scenes together? Because there were long speaking scenes and shouting scenes and you knew Bhaskar, Mr. Bachchan.
Yeah.
He was an irritating character in the film. You know, sometimes, like for example, a lot of audiences told me we got irritated with him. At some point, we wanted to tell him shut up. You know?
Yeah.
So it happened to a lot of people. So like Deepika used to say, just shut up, you know. So how will I place them together first time they're talking? So I think it needs a very careful handling. It's like one step at a time. It's like baby steps, you know. It can't be done just like that. Then, for example, for Irfan and Mr. Bachchan to coming together, because you must understand that both of them are absolutely stalwarts of an actors, you know, on their own way. Irfan has worked with some of the best directors in the world, and he was working with me for the first time. So you know, so all that needed a baby step of one step at a time, as they had from 3 different schools. So it needs a lot of careful handling of actors, of conducting the set, how the camera instructions will be. So all that matters.
Yeah, speaking about like production, as you said, because of continuous practice or, you know, rehearsal sessions, your shoot would get over like in 15 minutes or so. So when it came to the post-production, especially on the editing table, when you had to sit with your editor, go through the editing process, was there any instance where you had to think of probably reshooting any scene of the film, any instance as you remember?
So far, the films that I have shot, no, there's never been a reshoot. But yes, while we were shooting, we did reshoot. Like for example, Piku, the first scene we shot, where he is walking around the house, you know, holding his stomach. You know, he's still not got the pressure to go to the toilet, and Piku, Deepika is working in the kitchen and the dining, and she wants to go out, and she is telling him just go and sit. So that particular scene was, we shot the scene, and of course it always takes time to. Then we shot the second scene. Then we were going in the narrative in a sequence. So we shot the second scene, we shot the third scene, we shot the fourth scene. So one night, Mr. Bachchan called me. He called me around 1 o'clock in the night, and he told me, Shoojit, you shot the second scene, third scene, fourth scene. But I think the character that you shot in second scene, third scene, fourth scene of mine, I have some problems that, you know, the first scene was not matching the way you briefed. So I told him, yes, sir, exactly right. Sir, I actually didn't want to tell you because I wanted to reshoot that sequence later on in any case. Because I think the pitching that you got on the second scene was absolutely perfect. And because first scene we shot first and the first day, so of course that takes that much time. So we understood there itself, okay, what is the pitching? And then we reshot the first scene again after the fourth, you know, and we requested Deepika. But Deepika was so good in the first sequence that we shot that I retained the shots of her from the first take itself. But for the reshot person, we used Mr. Bachchan. So yes, sometimes it happens that you reshoot a couple of sequences or some particular reaction that you do. But mostly I have captured it then and there on the shoot, because some sequences I'm too sure and that, you know, this is the sequence that's going to be. So it happens, but it's a matter of you know, how you see the scene. So you normally do it that you go back and take a shot.
Absolutely. In fact, Mr. Shoojit, a movie is registered in the minds of the viewer through the actors, through the characters. but there are people working behind the camera, be it the editors, be it the script writers, or be it even the casting director. The speciality of you as a director is you have been working with the same team, be it Juhi, be it Kamaljeet, be it Avik, Ronnie, Sheel, Prajapati, or be it even your casting director. So what's your mantra behind this, like, flowing with the same team for most of your projects?
Well, the mantra is, of course, like-minded people who understand, who can be your uh, friend, and who can with whom you can fight all over. You can discuss. You can throw. There is no ego around. Everybody is working for the film towards the one objective of how this film or the character. In my set, even in the lower technicians, for example, the caterers and the people who even the light team, or even the spot boy team, they are also same since the beginning. So sometimes they also come and tell me, so there's something wrong in this frame. So, and I listen to them. So I think that's a big advantage, that to work with your very and let me tell you, of all of them that I work with, they're extremely talented. They're extremely talented. Whether it's Kamal Negi, the cinematographer, which I've collaborated with him in all my commercials, with Obigga also. My music director Shantanu Moitra, since my first film, my first music video. Shekhar Prajapati, who's my editor, we have since the beginning. So even my writer, Juhi Chaturvedi, or Shubhendu, or Ritesh, so we all have always collaborated. So I think it's the like-minded people who come around and you exploit each other's talent. You become more comfortable that you are expressing. I think that's the key to even my casting director. My casting director, we have worked together when we were doing theater. So since then I know him. So, and then since then he's been casting in my film. So there is, and when we have wanted to go out and explore, we have, for example, we have worked with Pia, who is from Sweden, who does all the special effects makeup. For example, Mirza's makeup was done by Pia Cornelis, who is from Sweden and lives in South Africa, and Shuttles. So you collaborate with some people you want to explore further. But so far, this is my team, and this is where I belong. This is where I'm comfortable also. So I think that always helps somewhere down the line.
True, absolutely. In fact, Mr. Shoojit, we have plenty of questions which have come from our audience. I guess it's also the time now to pick these questions. So here is a question by one of our participants who focuses on, as a filmmaker, when do you decide between having a linear or non-linear narrative for your films?
Well, when you are deciding on the treatment of the film, sometimes, like for example, Vicky Donor was a very linear way of we wanted to tell the story. But Madras Cafe was not linear. It was linear, but still it was going back and forth. So I think it depends on how you want to approach the particular story or particular narrative, linear or non-linear. Sometimes it's very instinctive, Sometimes it's very instinctive that you decide, okay, I will go possibly backwards, and tell this story. So I think it's linear or non-linear is absolutely a decision that sometimes I have taken sometimes on the edit table also. So while I'm editing, I have changed the sequences. So that has also happened. But in lot many cases, when the first draft scripting is done, you have a linear structure, and then I try play around and break it. That how I can approach and go into my point A where I started, or do I take point D or point E or point F, or should I directly go to Z and then restart everything? Or like, for example, in Madras Cafe, in the beginning itself, I gave 2 years from 2 years before assassination. So now I have already geared up the audience that there's going to be an assassination. So that's how I decided that, okay, now I will gear up this as a countdown to the assassination. So that's how the narrative of that script was. So it can happen in any stage. It doesn't, you can't conceive it with this, but it can happen in any of the stages that you think.
Right. Also, keeping in mind your recent release of Gulabo Sitabo on the streaming platform, here is an interesting question. Is there a way to alter a movie's treatment or packaging that was originally made for theaters, and then, because it had to be released on the OTT platform, whether it had to be changed or, reworked anywhere?
Yeah, interesting question. Yes, to whoever has asked me this question, I must tell him that this is the first time I have experienced on a digital platform as a straight release, on release. But otherwise, all my other films are also there in the streaming platforms. So yes, I mean, you need to readapt. One important factor is the sound, because a lot of people have television. A lot of people have a home theater system, because now streaming has 5.1 also. Like Gulabo Sitabo had Atmos. Atmos is a complete surround sound from the top to bottom and everything else. So we had that, and also stereo option, which becomes very, very important. Another factor that you have to be very, very careful is that your black levels. The levels in terms of the black of the screen, how much dark, how much not, because every screen is different. So you have your coloring team will have certain kind of a guideline to follow. So you have to readapt from the theater projection to because your digital screens are much more brighter. So, so all that needs to be adjusted. Music level, so all that levels of the screen, you have to readapt for their digital platform, because a lot of people in India also watch in mobile phones, which I don't think is the right way of watching, but but there are a lot of people who watch it. So that needs also to be careful.
True. Going to the next question. Okay, there is a question by the participant basically asking about your experience of working in October, especially with Varun Dhawan.
October is also it's quite a special film, I think. And with Varun, I really I had to prepare him a lot. So every day before the shoot, say 6 months before the shoot, he would ask me what should I do for the character. So I didn't tell him the climax of the film. So I had told him till a certain point in that particular film. So he would ask me so I would give him certain tasks to do, and as for the preparation of the character. Because again, I said he is coming from a complete mainstream, and in this character, there's nothing much to do in terms of it's very simple. That he's every day walking up to the hospital, just looking at her, talking to her, and coming back. So there is no major over dramatic thing that happening. So it was simply just going and coming back, and through that we know him as a character and emotions. So it was difficult to imagine and prepare. So but Varun naturally has got few there is some kind of an innocence, that the way innocently he will ask questions, Sometimes like a baby face, he will talk to me, Dada, what should I do in this? So I will not tell him anything. So I'll tell Varun, nothing, whatever you think, you react. And so sometimes he will sit confused. And that confused shot becomes so important for me that I would use that. So, then he will say, okay, Dada, I am ready for take. And I said, no, my take is done. So he said, no, I have not done anything. So I said, no, I got it. So he said, what did you get it? So I'll show I'll preview it. I said, you got it? He said, yeah. You picked it up? I said, yeah, I picked it up. So I'll roll the camera and then pick it up. He said, then it's okay. Then let's move on. So that's how the experience was. And he didn't mind. A lot of actors would mind that, no, I will do it again. But he didn't mind at all. So that's how I think the process was between me and him.
Absolutely. There is also another question by one of the participants. As someone who values the planning process of a film, how important it is for you to remain open towards changes in character during production?
It purely depends on if you're asking me about improvisation and spontaneous changes there. Yes, we do sometimes, but it's not too drastic as a change. The reason being that, I have worked on the character while preparing the script so much that, we go absolute to the last detail of the character. So more or less, there is no scopes for too much of changes apart from few improvisations, apart from few situations. So in my film, it's more or less and also the performances. So for my scripts, I also do a lot of performances of my characters. So it's not that I am rigid about it, but I'm open about it. That I let them do what they want to do. But I exactly know the preparation, the vision that we have for the character, and how to divert and take him to or her to that particular situation. Like for example, sometimes a Begum in Gulabo Sitabo would improvise with her own, because she can't hear sometimes. So one of the days, while taking the shot, her ear that ear machine that fell, and the take was on, so she was talking. So she was talking, so I kept on rolling. So so that became an improvised and very natural. And I used it. So you do it, and you start enjoying that sometimes. Sometimes in some scenes, I leave the characters open. So, for example, the climax of the Gulabo Sitabo, where I had to, when they were fighting, so I had to leave them open where they want to do. I gave them, certain situations. In Piku, for example, the famous scene, the knife scene. So after a point when we had conceived the way we had written it, Julia has written it, so we wanted to, but it was not coming through. So then I told the actors, boss, all of you, improvise, and which is the direction. If there is something going wrong, I will stop, but you will have to improvise and take this scene to a complete boiling point. And they improvise, and they improvise so beautifully. And so, for example, when Deepika chucks off the knife, so it was not there, but something in the improvisation happened that she chucked it. And when she chucked it, I loved it. I asked my camera, Negi, keep on rolling. Let it be. Let's see what happens. So that's how that scene came so beautiful.
Wonderful. Also, we have a question from a student who just finished his 12th grade, and he's very passionate about filmmaking. So he's like, can I study filmmaking after 12th directly?
Yes, there are a lot of institutes and colleges where after 12th, I think it's mostly a degree course, but there are a lot of private institutes who I think they take students from after 12th also. But I think it's better that you graduate and then do it, because I think you need to go through your education process and then come. I think it's better. But there are some schools which start from 12th also, post 12th also.
Okay. Also, I would like to tell the student, even we are offering the course in BA in filmmaking. So if interested, do inquire with our admission team for the course. Also, Mr. Shoojit, there's another question asking, is there any genre that you are not comfortable to work with, but you would like to give a try?
So far, I think I have worked more or less all kinds of genre, but I think one period film is also coming, Udham Singh. I think that I have not, so I think you will see. Well, I'm scared of musicals. So a lot of people tell me, why don't you try musicals? But I'm still not very sure about musicals. So let's see. I don't know, will I be able have the courage to try musical, but let's see, I don't know.
Okay. Also, any message that you would like to give it to the student and the people who have a fascination towards cinema?
I can just tell you, I mean, I'm no one to give you any mantras, but I can just give you my personal mantra. So my personal mantra is purely my own lifestyle and a lot of observations. So I think I always tell whoever wants to join films that one is reading books, because nowadays, because of the digital medium, most of the people just read the headlines and they move on, and then they start talking, because it's just information. Information is not knowledge. So knowledge is much beyond just for information. So don't confuse between knowledge and information. Yeah. So I have seen a lot of youngsters who are coming who think the information that they know is a knowledge. No, it's not. To me, I think you have to go and do a complete deep study on what you are planning to do. So you must study. Just watching streaming platforms, the films, and okay, I want to do that. I think you need to move beyond and see what you can do. What are your qualities? I think you don't have to compete with anyone. There is nothing. If cinema is slowly, I think people have started accepting it as an art. Earlier, it was not. People would not take it as an art form, but now cinema is a very serious art form. It's a collaboration. It's a collaboration of so many fields, so many forms, so many performing arts, and it comes together and you make film. So art. You have to be very sure why you want to be a filmmaker, why you want to be a film, basically why you want to make films or why you want to be an actor. So say, for example, a lot of youngsters who come to me, I mean, I can understand that they have just come to Bollywood they just want to be a hero or just want to be famous. So then I tell them, then I am not the right person for you. So for me, I respect this art, and I respect an artist who will value this art. So it's a serious work. It's a responsible work. It can't be frivolous. So that's why a lot of people don't take me as a part of Bollywood, because I don't live there all so much. So I have done all my films on my own terms. So I think it's very important that as a filmmaker, or as an artist or as an actor, people see you as a person, what kind of a person you are, and your philosophies in life and your impressions. So that's the most important factor, which sometimes get lost in this world of glamour, and instant success. So I think that is the key, that you have to be absolutely rooted for where you belong, what you believe, So this we must all. It's sometimes very difficult because there are a lot of pressures. There are a lot of external pressures which comes in when you become successful. But let me tell you a very strong example. After Piku, a lot of people, told me, why don't you make Piku 2, or why don't you make Vicky 2, and all that. So, but no, I wanted to make a film on neuroscience, and so I made October. So a lot of people told me that you wasted Varun Dhawan. He's something like of course he's a star, but you have wasted his talent, because that film in box office did not do as much that they expected Varun Dhawan to do. But it didn't bother me at all, because I could make a film that I wanted. Same with Gulabo Sitabo. I wanted to make this story, and I wanted to make that film. So it doesn't matter what happens or what people talk. Yes, you of course listen to people, but every film has got its own time. Like, for example, we in the beginning we talked about Satyajit Ray. So let me tell you, when I was in school and my father took me to watch Satyajit Ray film, I slept. I didn't understand that film at all. So it was a black and white, slow-pitched film, and so I was sleeping. The next time, my school organized a show, and there was nobody in the theater. So from the back door, everybody went out, and they were playing, and the cinema was playing. A third time, my college took me, and again we went out, and we went and to watch a film like Carry On Doctor or something. I think we went to watch, I remember. So third time, the 3 times that I didn't watch, and who's my guru. And the fourth time, when I really, after I graduated, I started understanding a life a little more, and I watched it. You couldn't believe I watched the second show also, and I was just sitting there, that this is the film I slept, and since then that film is my Bible. So it happens. So just stick to your, to yourself, that what you are. I think that's most important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Shoojit, for this brilliant and wonderful session. In fact, I should apologize to our participants because we were not able to take all the questions from them. But I'm sure with your answers, with your guidance, most of them have got a clarity on what they want to pursue and how they should go about with their interest. So thank you once again for joining us here. We wish you a long, long journey in the world of cinema, and especially for your next film, Sardar Udham Singh. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Percy. Thank you. And thanks to the entire Manipal team and all the listeners. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shoojit. Dear participants, I'm sure all of you must have been inspired with the great session that we had with Mr. Shoojit. Our next session will be held on August 17th with Mr. Anil Zankar. We will be updating the registration link very soon on our social media platform of Mahe Dubai. Also, for more details or inquiries about the courses in Mahe Dubai, do visit our website mahedubai.com or our Facebook page, where you can also visit our campus from Sunday to Friday. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.